to the pro late model event, and I think that tweet on the screen tells everything. Yep. 3 words from Adam Fenwick. Well, that escalated.
That it did. It certainly escalated. And you know what? And it was building for a few laps there, so it escalated, and then like a volcano, she finally just exploded. As good to get a little feedback on the Twitter. Here's a little bit more. Heck of a Friday. Cheryl Barber and I watching from Virginia Beach. You're at Virginia Beach. What are you doing watching a race? You ought to be out on the beach, man. But glad to have him watching in on Pit Road. I mean, on CarStore.tv.
Yeah, certainly certainly cool with that. There was another tweet, by the way, that we can't post. Some of the language. Folks, keep them civil, please. There are people with children watching at home. We're not going to publish your tweets if it's vulgar or has profane language in them. But nonetheless, there was another opinion, rather forcefully put over one side over the other. How about that? Hey. But that's what we love about this, Tyler. We love seeing Goodhart short track racing. You're going to have incidents like that when you're both going for the win. I applaud William Sawalich. I applaud Jake Garcia. Well, you know why? Neither one of them moved over.
Yep.
They both went after it. Rodney Childers has an opinion on Twitter. He's chiming in.
He disagrees with me.
He disagrees with you, but that's the part I love about it. We're going to have 1 million views and 1,000,001 opinions is what's going to happen. And that's the cool part. That's the really neat part I love about Twitter, social media, what we've got going on with the Cars Tour, and finishes like that. I mean, that's the cool stuff that we love to see. So, again, chime on us at Twitter, at Cars Tour on Twitter. I'll get it sorted out there eventually, one way or the other. So, you see the late model stock field pulling in. As, they're getting them lined up and ready to go from the back pit lane. We saw Carson Quapple make his way by a moment ago. There you see Jacob Hefner. And not a lot of room here at Tri-County, Tyler, so sometimes you got to just line them up on the front stretch. And, okay, folks at home, we just broke your TV screen, and we apologize.
Let me hide my face. I'm sorry.
Apologize. I'm sorry. Get that off the screen. But nonetheless, we're glad to have you here. And, folks, I know I see Twitter over there is just lighting up with opinions. And those of you, again, here in the racetrack, tweet at us at Cars Tour, hashtag Harrisons225. We want your opinion because we love it when you give us an opinion.
Absolutely.
Good,
whether you agree with us or disagree with us.
Yeah, whether you agree with it, whether you disagree with it, whether you just are here for the free ice cream.
Wait, there's ice cream?
Wait.
Who got ice cream?
I was going to say, hang on a second. Somebody told me a lie, apparently. But whatever it is, we want your opinions. We love to see it. And that's what I love about short track racing. We can see that. And I know what the fans here thought about it.
Oh, yeah. They were not quiet about their opinion, Tony. You were down there in Victory Lane. And not only did you hear the fans, but you were hearing all the animation from Pit Road just behind with the combatants. So you were hearing a lot of non-Christian words down there, weren't you?
Actually, no. Well,
Maybe a few
Brandon Setzer was perfectly sane.
Okay.
There was a lot of sarcasm in his comments.
There you go.
As you can expect.
Yeah.
But he was perfectly civil, perfectly sane, expressed his opinion in an adult manner, and walked away very rapidly towards his driver and his race car. But Brandon Setzer was perfectly fine. Now, one of the other crew members may have been a little bit more animated nonetheless, but it too was relatively civil, albeit heated. So I got to give the Setzer group props on that. There's a lot of folks that would have just had a knockdown drag out over that, and props to them for expressing their opinions very adamantly, but also not crossing the line. I'll give them a lot of props on that.
One thing's for sure, they're going to have a lot of work to do on that 6 car to get it ready for the next race.
No doubt.
The back end took quite a wallop there.
Ironically, that is where a year ago, William Sawalich's super late model first pole ended, was about in that exact same spot after a very similar looking incident. After he led some laps early and fell back through the field. But there you saw William on the front stretch, ready to go for this 125-lap late model stock event. So this is the challenge of a young driver, too. And this is what I love about what they're putting William Sawalich through at this point is, they're doing double headers. Yeah, they're putting him through to that endurance, that physical endurance. But this, Tyler, is a test that he's never had to endure before. He's never had that mental test of leading every lap of a race and not winning it for whatever reason and hopping right in another race car, starting it from the pole and trying to do it all over again. Will he mentally hold up to this challenge? Because that's a pretty tall order to not have that in the back of your head.
And you know what? That's something you can't simulate at the house on the computer. You can't simulate that in the sim. That is a test of what is between the steering wheel and between the seat. What kind of human being are you? What kind of person are you? What kind of man are you for William Sawalich? Are you going to be able to gather it back in, or are you going to be so tore up? Is your team going to have to be a little bit of a psychologist and get you back in the game mentally? But I got a feeling he's going to be okay, Tony. I got pretty high expectations for William Sawalich. It'll be interesting to see just what he can do in this late model field, Tony. And as it continues to file onto the racetrack, there you see Series Director Jack McNally getting the last few cars lined up. You talk about a stacked field of talent for this late model stock race. I mean, when you got Ashton Higgins starting that far back at Tri-County Speedway, some of these other heavy hitters that are mired back there that had trouble from qualifying, this is going to be a heavy field to try to make some passes in. As there you see the 2 of Brandon Pierce, the 10 of March Banks filing in, the 12 of Thomas Bean. I apologize, early in qualifying, I thought that was Caden Honeycutt. I did not realize he had a conflict. My apologies to the Thomas Bean fan club that I misidentified. Thomas Bean in the 12 for Autos by Nelson. And there you see Andrew Grady's number 1 machine right there towards shotgun of the field.
Well, it looks like things are ready to go. The field is lined up. Well, as we wait for everybody to get sorted out, Keely Dubinsky is down trackside. Jack McNally making sure everybody is good to go. They shut him down for a moment. We're waiting for the okay to crank him back up, I guess, is what we're waiting for at the moment. So once we get that word from Jack McNally, Keely Dubinsky, everybody else, we will, in fact, crank this field. And if you're watching on social media, by the way, we're on Twitter. I know we always call it our Facebook MPM Marketing Free Preview. As there it comes the command from Keely, fire him up. There you see her on the screen. But this is not only on Facebook, Tyler. This is on Twitter. This is on YouTube. This is on Twitch. If you're on any of those platforms, at Cars Tour, at Pit Row TV, say hi. Hit the share button. Tag your buddies. Whatever you want to do. Raid us if you're on Twitter. I think that you can ask people to raid you, right? That's a thing.
What does that mean?
I'm not a Twitch.
Is that a term that the kids use?
As much as I used to be into iRacing, and I still am. I just don't have time for it. I don't like all the Twitch stuff has just kind of passed me by.
It's unreal the level it's at now.
It's amazing. It's amazing. One of our crew guys on some of our events, I forget his Twitch. I think it's under either Chevette or Rars Chevette. Ian does a lot of that, and he loves it. He's so good at it too. And some guys are. Some guys not as much like me.
You know,
I can barely drive, but nonetheless, we're on Twitch. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. And, folks, take a look at this Tri-County Speedway. Tyler, this racetrack, as far as racetracks go in this region, relatively new, less than about 40 years old.
Yep, as far as a paved track goes, they opened it as a dirt track in 1985. You know, it wasn't too long ago that this racetrack was actually operated by the same group that was operating Caraway Speedway, and they used to promote one as a Friday track and one as a Saturday track back in the day when you just had so many daggone race cars that you needed all these racetracks.
Absolutely. More on that as we get forward for the ownership chain. But before we get rolling, James Pike, 125 laps for the featured late model stock cars in this Harrison's Workwear 225. What have you been seeing and hearing into the pit area other than maybe a lot of less than stellar words in the last 15 minutes?
It's actually been more civil than you would think after the pro late model finish, but with the late model stock drivers, I talked to them all afternoon, and the one thing that they agreed on is that they couldn't agree on where to run turns 1 and 2. Remember, that got repaved since the last time we were here. Vinny Terrell won in September 2021. So there are people that are thinking you may need to go to the bottom to be successful, you may need to run to the middle to be successful. There are people that have said they may try and run the Kyle Larson line and go right up against the wall to try and be fast. But one thing they did agree on, unanimously, tons of grip. There's way more grip in 1 and 2 and around this racetrack as a whole as a result than we had a year ago. It runs a lot like South Boston and Dominion. Those were the 2 tracks that came up most often when drivers were asked to compare this place. So we can see a really fast, really high-paced late model feature in this Harrison's Workwear 225.
Thank you, James. And, yeah, I think that's something to keep an eye on throughout the night, especially as now the sun has set, Tyler. Where is the groove? We saw in the pro race, it was kind of in the middle, kind of in the top, unless you're in a fight for the lead in the last corner, and the groove's wherever you need to be, apparently. But something to keep an eye on, no doubt, as this racetrack is traditionally known to be a very wide racetrack, not only physically, but the groove itself. And with that new pavement, it seems to be widening out very, very nicely.
And the thing we really made note of was the progression of that groove. The longer the race went on, the further to the outside the leaders and anybody that was running a high speed was willing to go. Even right now, as you look on the screen, it's a little tough to see now that the sun is set, but you can see that kind of thin black line that goes through turns 1 and 2. That line was a bit lower. That's where the outermost level of the rubber is. As a result of a 100-lap pro late model race, that baby has widened out. That baby has widened out nice, and I got a feeling for these 125 laps of late model racing, she's as wide as she's going to get. It is going to be a beautiful sight for racing, and you see already the result of it. Pole sitter William Sawalich choosing the outside to start the race.
He learned something in that pro late model race, no doubt. By the way, you folks on Twitter are great. I'm sitting here looking at the timeline, just keeps populating with opinions of that pro late model race. Love it. Former crew chiefs, current crew chiefs, upper-level people, late model racers, fans. I love it. Folks, keep them coming. At Cars Tour, hashtag Harrison's225. Meanwhile, while you folks do that, the lights are out atop the Solid Rock Carriers pace car. William Sawalich and Connor Hall will slowly lead the field through the KRC Power Steering Start Zone, and the second half of the Harrison's Workwear.com 225 is underway. Problems, turn 3, up in the outside wall, Mini Tyrell. Last year's winner of this event does not even get a lap in before misfortune strikes. Oh, you hate to see that.
He hit it hard, Tony. Look at the damage on the right rear. Goodness, she is caved in on that quarter panel. That was a hard hit. Hoping, I see Mini Tyrell moving around in the car. He's okay. He's going to bring it to the pits, but golly, what a hit that was. Right front. Look at the right front, Tony. She is off the rim almost.
Almost makes you wonder if something failed, Tyler. Was there a cut tire? Was there a broken suspension part to cause that incident? Hard to say. We may have a replay. Our folks are looking to see if there is any video evidence of what happened. And that was right towards the back. I mean, Minnie was starting. Let me look at my lineup here. Minnie was back, where was he? About the 12th spot. We may have some, I don't know. We may have something of that. I don't know. It's hard to really tell because right where he was. But nonetheless, they're going to work on that and find out if we have anything. We may not. Again, we may not. But nonetheless, what we can see is a
split fender. Look at that thing. The fender
that's
split.
Not good.
The wheel is flat. Look at how bent the rim is. I mean, that is a hard lick. Poor Mini Tyrell at a racetrack where you know he had to be coming in with such high hopes, as Tony said last year, sat on the pole and won this race, his one and only win with the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. But unfortunately, his night is done before he can even complete a lap. The crew will get the right side of the car up off the ground. But a terrible tough break. Here comes a slight
take a look at this. Hang on. Oh, there it is. It looked like he just overcooked the corner, Tyler.
He overcooked it hard enough to hit some pretty hard damage there, Tony. We saw a few of the Pro Late models spin by themselves, but they were lucky enough to not hit the wall. Mini, not so fortunate there. Got into the corner too hot, and the next thing that caught him was the wall. As the crew looking around the right rear of that race car, but hood off, window net down. He is definitely done. We'll see if James Pike can get a word with him down there in the pits. You know he's got to be frustrated, but terribly tough break for Mini Tyrell.
Yeah, you hate to see that again. The defending winner of this event is the field will get a complete restart. They'll get the one-to-go signal this time by, but that's not how the Manassas, Virginia crew wanted to put that car back on the trailer. And look at that, right on cue, I believe James Pike has got Mini Tyrell right there.
Maybe what happened out there to put you out so early?
I'm not sure. I went into the corner. It looked like maybe Zach was going a little bit lower. I don't know if I was higher or what, but I just caught the marbles, and the car just completely snapped sideways, and I'm in the fence. And I don't know if it was a misjudgment, but it really sucks. But we'll move on, and I guess it's racing, but it's just heartbroken.
Thank you, James. And yes, you hate to see that from Mini Tyrell, as we'll try this a second time to the KRC Power Steering Start Zone. Let's see if we can make it through turns 3 and 4 this time around. Whoa, in the wall, Mike Looney off turn 2. Okay, we didn't even barely get through turn 2 without contact.
There go Calamity Jane, not going to let us go as Connor Hall going to take the lead away from William Sawalage and lead the first lap.
By the way, if you're watching on social media, this is our free preview, folks. You like what you're seeing? Head on over to www.carstour.tv. If you're on Twitter, you can retweet it there at Pit Road TV or at Cars Tour TV. It's on there. It's on our Facebook, our Twitch, our YouTube, you name it. It's all over the place. Show your friends. And look at this, 3 wide for about the 5th spot as Chad McCumbee and Ryan Millington go at it for 3rd.
Connor Jones wisely had to back out of that thing going 3 wide into turn 3 on lap number 3. Was not going to be a very good idea. Still side by side right there behind Chad McCumbee. Who works on Millington.
Deke McCaskill, you see there on the top of that shot. He too in turn 1. Way sideways, overcooked the corner, lost about 5 spots. This racetrack, Tyler, when I talked to drivers today, there was one word that came up. Slick, slick, slick. And apparently it's slicker now than it was all day. And speaking of slick, William Sawalage is trying to pull a slick move on Connor Hall to retake the race lead.
Trying to get back what was rightfully his off the start after Connor Hall got him on that restart. Going to fall back a little bit here as Hall will hold down the spot. Just 5 laps into it. Again, we almost look 3 wide going into turn 3 as Looney right there in the middle of it. And there's the points leader in the middle of it, Carson Quapple. A little further back there, 2 by 2. There's Bobby McCarty and Deke McCaskill side by side. They are all over each other at this place, and we're only 6 laps in, Tony. They don't want to settle down.
Yeah, those of you in our free preview, we're going to give you about 25 laps or 2 heart attacks, whichever comes first, the way these guys are racing. And I'm not sure which one those are going to be because this is absolutely thrilling. And we're, Tyler, 7 laps in. These guys, a lot of folks compared this new pavement to Motor Mile, Dominion, and South Boston. And what does that mean as a race fan? There is no such thing as tire conservation, which means they have one speed. Wide, flipping, open. And you're seeing it here as Carson Quapple and the 44 of Connor Jones. That is for position number 5. Duke it out through turns 3 and 4.
Quapple trying to work the bottom of the track, but the top looks like it is the place to be for now. Jones able to outrun Quapple back to the start-finish line. Just in front of him is Chad McCumbee and company. The leaders not quite able to escape from the pack the way the pro late models were. They got a little more spaced out early in the run, and right now late model stocks are all over each other. Just 10 laps into this one as Quapple will settle into line behind Jones, who rounds out that top 5 down the back straightaway. But goodness gracious almighty, everybody trying to find some sort of rhythm to settle in. And you see, Tony, nobody down on the bottom of the track. Everybody's middle to top. Nobody is on the bottom.
And I love that, Tyler, because it gives drivers choices. Do you go to the outside of a guy and maybe step it out in the marbles and try to widen that groove out? Or do you do what we saw in the pro late model race and try to sniff the bottom and make something work there and move a guy up off the inside of the racetrack? I love it when drivers have choices and options behind the wheel. Right now, we're seeing them all kind of settle in and feel each other out. But this race is giving me that feel already, Tyler, and we might have ourselves a good old-fashioned barn burner here at Tri-County.
I'll be interested to see. You know, when they run high up on the track, that only means the groove is going to continue to widen out. And if they're that high before we even get to the 25 lap mark, just how high we might see a Kyle Larson line get ran a little bit later on tonight as they continue single file, but they continue to be all over each other. As Chad McCumbee sniffing for 3rd position there right on Millington, and there you see Deke McCaskill working on Bobby McCarty a little further back as he tries to gather it back in from his early trouble. Here he comes to the inside.
That's for the 11th spot now as McCaskill tries to make it up on McCarty. A battle of the Max, former series champions both. Bobby, a 3-time and defending champion. Deke, a 1-time champion. Ironically, a year where he was the driver's champ, but not the owner's champ, because Josh Berry had to go run an Xfinity race at Iowa that year. Junior Motorsports claimed their first series championship as a team that year when Deke took home the driving title. Nonetheless, those two continue to go at it. And just behind them there, you saw Mason Diaz. Carter Langley is up front. William Sawalage peeking underneath the Connor Hall.
Taking a little look to the inside down the front straightaway. Not quite aggressive enough with it to pull up to the numbers, but he is on the quarter panel. You know, he just saw this play out just a little bit in the previous race, and he better go because behind him there's a lot of activity coming. Side by side for 5th spot. Quapple going to work again on Jones for 5th.
Yeah, Carson now stuck down there on the bottom, and he's got to be careful that Mike Looney does not get up there and perhaps get him stuck on the bottom of the racetrack. We've seen the outside at this point have a little bit more advantage than the top, but Carson doing everything he can to get around the 44th Connor Jones, and that time noses ahead on the exit of turn number 4. Pair of white cars going at it. Man, there is not a lot of space between them.
I'm about to say, whoever falls back to 6th is going to fall right into the clutches of Mike Looney. He's right there watching this movie play out right in front of them as Quapple getting a good run now. He's showing that bottom might be able to work a little bit as he gets about half a race car out in front of Jones, but Jones not going to give up the spot that easily. Stays on his side down the backstretch.
This is a fantastic race. You see the top 6 cars virtually nose to tail. You throw a blanket over them at this point, Tyler. And, you know, I don't think there's a lot of saving going on. There's got to be a little bit, but probably not a whole lot as Quapple tries and now does take 5th into turn number 3. And those of you on the free preview, you now have 3 laps to let there left. 3 laps. That's it. You want to watch this one? Head on over to www.carstour.tv. If the first 22 laps are any indication, Tyler, you do not want to miss the rest of this one.
And here's a little look further back as we're down to a few laps left in our preview. Isabella Robusto trying to look to the inside of McCaskill there. McCaskill trying to claw his way back. He is now into the 9th spot. That's where he started this race, Tony. Fell back as now finally it took him 23 laps, but he's finally worked himself back to where he started with 102 laps to go. Now 101 to go as Connor Hall hits the stripe.
Saw Isabella bobble there in the corner of the frame. You saw the nose of that Mobil 1 Toyota kind of dart left and right there. Again, you think fresh pavement, easy, drive the car in there, point it, shoot it, and go. Doesn't seem to be the case here. These guys are having to wrestle these cars, and folks, that's it on the free preview. You want to watch the rest of this one? Head on over to www.carstour.tv. Caution is out. Turn number 1. Slow on the racetrack. I believe that is Bobby McCarty.
That is Bobby McCarty, the 22. The 3-time and defending series champion stops, brings out the caution, and begins to roll again. That will earn him a penalty.
That will likely earn him a 1-lap penalty for intentionally stopping to bring out a yellow. So that rule, by the way,